Anger isn't your enemy, but treating it like one, that's the real problem. Here's what nobody tells you. The average person gets angry about 15 times per week. That's over 700 anger episodes every single year. And most people, they're doing it all wrong. Either they explode and damage relationships, or they suppress it and damage themselves. There's a third way. In the next 20 minutes, you'll discover how to decode your anger like a secret language, how to extract its wisdom without becoming its slave. These aren't feel-good platitudes about counting to 10. This is the science of turning your most volatile emotion into your most valuable teacher. Chapter 1. The Anger Mirage. Your anger is lying to you. But here's the twist. The lie contains the truth. Think about the last time you got angry. Really angry. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic. Or a coworker took credit for your work. Or your partner forgot something important. In that moment, what did your anger tell you? Probably something like, this person is terrible. This situation is unbearable. I need to react right now. That's the mirage. But underneath, there's real water. Your anger isn't actually about that driver, or that coworker, or that moment. It's information about something deeper. A boundary that was crossed, a value that was violated, a need that isn't being met. The person who yells at the slow cashier, their anger isn't really about the weight. It's about feeling powerless in their life. Maybe their boss has been micromanaging them for weeks. Maybe they're drowning in obligations they never agreed to. That cashier is just the unfortunate target of accumulated helplessness. The parent who snaps at their kids over small things? Not about the toys on the floor. It's about being overwhelmed and under-supported. About giving constantly with no one filling their cup. About running on empty and still being expected to give more. Watch this pattern in yourself. Notice when your reaction seems too big for the trigger. That's your signal. The intensity is always proportional to something, just not the thing right in front of you. You're not crazy. You're not broken. Your anger is just pointing at the wrong target because it doesn't know how to point at the real one. Think of it like a compass that works perfectly, but you're reading it upside down. The information is accurate. Your interpretation needs adjustment. Here's another layer most people miss. Your anger often protects you from feeling something more vulnerable. Rage is easier than admitting you feel disrespected. Fury is safer than acknowledging you feel betrayed. Irritation shields you from recognizing you feel unimportant. Your anger is a loyal guard dog, barking at anything that threatens your emotional safety. The problem? It doesn't distinguish between real threats and false alarms. Here's the neuroscience. When you get angry, your amygdala fires up in milliseconds. It's your brain's smoke detector, screaming danger. But here's what most people don't know. That initial surge only lasts 90 seconds. Just 90 seconds. After that, you're choosing to feed it. Most people think they can't control their anger. Wrong. You can't control the first spark, but you absolutely control whether you pour gasoline on it or let it burn out naturally. Every time you rehash the story, you're adding fuel. Every time you imagine what you should have said, you're stoking the flames. Every time you seek validation that you were right to be angry, you're building the fire bigger. Your brain can't tell the difference between reliving the event and experiencing it fresh. That's why ruminating on your anger keeps it alive for hours, days, even years later. You're not remembering the anger. You're recreating it, practicing it, strengthening it, like a musician, rehearsing the same wrong note over and over until it becomes automatic. Chapter 2. The Anger Compass. What if anger isn't a problem to fix, but a compass pointing you somewhere important? Think about it like this. Physical pain tells you something's wrong with your body. Anger tells you something's wrong with your situation. But we've been taught to ignore the compass. Don't be angry. Calm down. Let it go. That's like telling someone with a broken leg to stop feeling pain. You're silencing the messenger instead of reading the message. Society treats anger like a character flaw, something civilized people don't display. But anger is older than civilization. It evolved for a reason. Your ancestors who felt no anger when their territory was invaded, they didn't survive long enough to become your ancestors. The ones who recognized threats and responded, they're why you're here. Your anger is ancient wisdom wrapped in modern discomfort. The problem isn't that we feel anger, it's that we've lost the ability to read it. We're like people with a sophisticated alarm system who can't tell the difference between a fire and burnt toast. Every alarm sounds the same, so we either ignore them all or panic at everything. Neither response serves us. Here's the framework. Anger has 4 core messages. First, a boundary was violated. Someone took something from you, invaded your space, or disrespected your limits. This is territorial anger. It says, I matter, my space matters, and you've crossed a line. When you feel this, you need to reinforce or establish clearer boundaries. The anger isn't the problem. The missing or weak boundary is, second, you're being treated unfairly. Your sense of justice is firing. This is moral anger. It's deeply wired into humans because fairness was essential for survival in groups. When you feel this type of anger, you're sensing that an agreement has been broken, a social contract violated, or a basic principle of reciprocity ignored. This anger asks you to restore balance or exit the unfair situation. Third, something's blocking your goals. You're facing an obstacle you didn't expect. This is frustration, anger. It shows up when there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. A project that isn't progressing, a skill you can't master quickly enough, a door that keeps slamming shut. This anger is telling you that you need a new strategy, more resources, or a different goal entirely. Fourth, you're feeling powerless. Control is slipping away. This is probably the most painful type because it threatens your autonomy, your sense of agency in your own life. When nothing you do seems to matter, when circumstances overwhelm you, when you're at the mercy of forces beyond your influence, this anger emerges. It's your psyche's protest against helplessness. Every single anger episode falls into one of these categories, sometimes multiple at once. The guy who rages at video games, blocked goals, and powerlessness. He can't progress, and nothing he tries works. The woman who explodes at her family, violated boundaries and unfairness. She's giving everything and getting nothing back, and no one respects her limits. The teenager who slams doors, usually powerlessness. Their life is controlled by others and they have no say. The employee who seethes in meetings, often unfairness. They see incompetence rewarded and excellence ignored. Once you identify which category your anger falls into, the solution becomes clearer. You're not just angry. You're angry for a specific reason that requires a specific response. The key is learning to ask, what is this anger trying to tell me? Not, who can I blame? Not, how can I win this argument? But what information am I receiving right now? Most people spend their energy trying to justify their anger or suppress it. They build cases for why they're right to feel this way, or they shame themselves for feeling it at all. Both approaches miss the entire point. Smart people spend that energy decoding it. They treat anger like a foreign language they're learning to speak. At first, it's confusing. Eventually, it becomes fluent. I'm angry because they're wrong gets you nowhere. It keeps you stuck in judgment and righteousness. I'm angry because I need respect and I'm not getting it. Gets you everywhere. Now you know what's missing. Now you can communicate it, negotiate it, or leave to find it elsewhere. Here's a dangerous myth. Good people don't get angry. So what happens? People become emotional pressure cookers. They smile when disrespected. They say it's fine when it's not. They accumulate tiny angers like interest on a debt. Then one day, something small happens. The cap explodes. They erupt over nothing, confusing everyone including themselves. That's the suppression trap. Your body doesn't forget suppressed anger. It stores it. Chronic suppression leads to anxiety, depression, physical tension, even illness. Think of anger like water. You can't make water disappear. You can only channel it or let it stagnate. Suppression creates stagnant pools that poison everything around them. But there's another trap on the opposite side. Expression without awareness. Most people think venting is healthy. Let it all out. Punch a pillow. Scream in your car. Research shows something surprising. Uncontrolled venting actually makes anger worse. Why? Because you're practicing rage. Your brain is creating neural pathways for explosive reactions. You're teaching yourself to be angrier, not less angry. The person who lets it all out regularly, they're not releasing pressure, they're building a habit. The real solution isn't suppression or explosion, it's transformation. Taking that anger energy and channeling it into something useful. The civil rights movement wasn't built on suppressed anger or explosive rage. It was built on channeled anger, transformed into action, strategy, and change. Remember that 90-second rule? That's your superpower window. When anger hits, you have a choice point. Most people are unconscious during these 90 seconds. They're already reacting. Sending the text, saying the words, making the decision. Then they spend days or years dealing with the consequences. But here's what changes everything. The pause. Not suppression. Not counting to 10 like a child. A conscious pause where you observe what's happening in your body. Your jaw is clenched. Your shoulders are tight. Your breathing is shallow. Your thoughts are racing. This isn't meditation fluff. This is practical intelligence. The moment you observe your anger, you create space between the trigger and your response. That space is freedom. Here's the technique. Name it to tame it. Literally say to yourself, I'm feeling anger right now. That simple act activates your prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, which calms down the amygdala, the reactive part. You're not denying the anger. You're not feeding it. You're acknowledging it. Most people are afraid that acknowledging anger means surrendering to it. The opposite is true. Acknowledgement is how you stop being its puppet. Think about the last time someone told you to calm down when you were angry. Did it work? Never. Because calm down is dismissal. But I see you're angry is validation. You can give yourself that validation. I'm angry. This makes sense. Something important to me is at stake. Now you can think clearly about what to do next. Your present anger has ancient roots. Most of what triggers you today was programmed into you years ago, maybe decades ago. This is anger archaeology, digging beneath the surface reaction to find the original wound. The person who gets furious when interrupted probably grew up feeling unheard. The one who rages at inefficiency likely had chaos in their childhood. The one who can't stand being wrong probably learned that mistakes meant punishment or shame. Here's what's fascinating. You're not actually angry at the present situation. You're angry at the echo. Your brain recognizes a pattern from the past and reacts as if you're back there, vulnerable and small. That's why your anger often feels disproportionate. Why you're screaming about dishes when the real issue is feeling unseen in your relationship. Why you're furious at a minor mistake when the real issue is a lifetime of impossible standards. This isn't about blaming your past. It's about understanding your wiring so you can rewire it. Most people spend their lives reacting to ghosts. They're fighting battles that ended years ago, but their nervous system never got the message. The practice is simple but profound. When you feel anger rising, ask yourself, when was the first time I felt this way? Usually, you'll remember something, a moment, a pattern, a person. That memory is gold, because now you can separate past from present. You can say, I'm not actually in danger right now like I was then. I have power now that I didn't have then. I can respond differently. This isn't therapy talk. This is practical freedom from invisible chains. Not all anger is created equal. Some anger is absolutely justified. When you witness injustice, when someone harms the vulnerable, when your core values are trampled. This is righteous rage, and it's one of the most powerful forces for change in human history. Every major social movement started with righteous rage. But here's the critical distinction. Righteous rage has a purpose beyond itself. It's fuel for action, not just reaction. Most people confuse personal grievance with righteous rage. Personal anger says, this affects me, and I don't like it. Righteous rage says, this is wrong, and it needs to change. One is about your comfort, the other is about your values. Here's how to tell the difference. If fixing the situation would only benefit you, it's personal. If fixing it would benefit others too, it might be righteous. But even righteous rage needs boundaries. The person who's angry about everything, that's not righteousness. That's exhaustion. You can't fight every battle. You'll burn out and help no one. Choose your battles based on your unique strengths and sphere of influence. The activist who channels rage into policy change? Powerful. The person who just yells on social media? Powerless. Here's the secret. Righteous rage needs patience. The quick explosion feels satisfying, but accomplishes little. The sustained, strategic anger? That changes systems. Think about how water carves through stone, not with one powerful blast, but with persistent, directed pressure over time. Your righteous rage should work the same way. Focused, strategic, sustained. Your anger doesn't exist in isolation. It lives in an ecosystem with your other emotions. Fear underneath it, sadness behind it, shame tangled with it. Most anger is actually a bodyguard emotion, protecting you from something more vulnerable. The person who gets angry when hurt? Anger is easier than admitting pain. The one who rages when scared? Anger feels more powerful than fear. The one who attacks when ashamed? Anger is a shield. This is why dealing with anger alone rarely works. You have to address the whole ecosystem. When you feel anger rising, don't just ask, what am I angry about? Ask, what am I afraid of? What am I sad about? What am I ashamed of? The answers will surprise you. That anger at your boss? Underneath it might be fear of failure. That fury at your partner? Might be sadness about disconnection. That rage at yourself? Often shame you learned long ago. Understanding this ecosystem doesn't make the anger disappear, but it changes everything about how you handle it. You stop treating anger like the enemy and start seeing it as information about your emotional landscape. Most people are emotional illiterates. They know good and bad. That's it. But there are dozens of emotional states, each carrying different information, each requiring different responses. Build your emotional vocabulary. Not just, I'm angry, but I'm frustrated, or I'm resentful, or I'm outraged, or I'm irritated. Each word points to a different situation requiring a problem. Different solution. Frustration means you need a better strategy. Resentment means you need to set boundaries. Outrage means something violates your values. Irritation means you're overstimulated. Same anger family, totally different problems. Here's where it gets interesting. Anger is energy. Pure, concentrated energy. The question isn't whether to have it. The question is what to do with it. Most people waste anger energy on blame, resentment, and revenge fantasies. A few people transform it into their greatest work. Every successful entrepreneur you admire probably channeled anger at how things were into building how things could be. Every artist who changed culture transformed rage into creation. Every activist who shifted society converted fury into movement. The process isn't mystical. It's mechanical. Feel the anger. Decode the message. Channel the energy. Here's what that looks like practically. You're angry about a problem at work. The waste is to complain. The transformation is to design a solution. You're angry about a relationship pattern. The waste is to blame. The transformation is to change your part. You're angry about injustice. The waste is just to feel superior. The transformation is to take action. Think about anger like electricity, dangerous if uncontrolled, powerless if suppressed, transformative if channeled. The same energy that could destroy can also create. Your anger about wasted time can become fierce productivity. Your anger about being disrespected can become unshakable boundaries. Your anger about mediocrity can become relentless excellence. Same energy, different direction. But here's the warning. You can't channel what you won't acknowledge. Most people are so busy pretending they're not angry that they never access its power. They leak it out in passive aggression, in resentment, in chronic complaints. What a waste. That's rocket fuel they're dribbling away when they could be launching themselves forward. Want to radically change your relationship with anger? Create an anger contract with yourself. This is a set of personal rules for how you'll handle anger before it arrives. Because here's the truth. You can't think clearly when you're angry. Your rational brain is offline. So you need to decide your strategy when you're calm. Most people have no system. They're improvising in the middle of a hijacking. That's why they keep making the same mistakes. Your anger contract might look like this. When I feel anger rising, I will pause for 90 seconds before responding. I will ask myself, what need isn't being met? I will express my anger to the right person, not an innocent bystander. I will use I statements, not accusations. I will focus on the specific behavior, not the person's character. I will propose a solution, not just complain about the problem. This isn't about becoming robotic. It's about becoming intentional. The person with an anger contract doesn't feel less anger. They just don't let anger make their decisions for them. Think about it like this. A fire can burn down your house or power your city. The difference isn't the fire itself. It's the system you've built around it. Your anger contract is that system. Review and update it regularly. What triggers you changes over time. Your responses should evolve too. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. 1% better at handling anger. Each week compounds into a completely different life. And here's what most people miss. Your anger contract protects others, but it protects you even more. From regret, from damaged relationships, from becoming someone you don't respect. The ultimate goal isn't to never feel anger. It's to feel it fully without being controlled by it. To let it inform you without letting it consume you. This is what living with power actually means. Not power over others, power over yourself. Most people live reactively. Something happens, they react, like pinballs bouncing off whatever hits them. But when you master anger, you stop being reactive. You become responsive. You choose. Here's what changes. Your relationships improve because you're not punishing people for old wounds. Your work improves because you're channeling frustration into creation. Your health improves because you're not carrying constant tension. Your decisions improve because you're not making them from rage. Your peace improves because you're not at war with yourself. And strangely, beautifully, you might actually feel your anger more intensely than before. Not less, because you're not afraid of it anymore. You're not suppressing it or exploding with it. You're experiencing it, learning from it, and letting it move through you. Like a wave that rises, crests, and returns to the ocean. It comes, it teaches, it goes. The people who master this become unstoppable, not because they never face obstacles or injustice or pain, but because they've learned to transform every difficulty into fuel. Their anger becomes their teacher, not their master. Their emotion becomes information, not identity. They don't ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this teaching me? One question creates victims, the other creates warriors. Every time you feel anger rising, you're at a crossroads. One path leads to regret, the other leads to growth. The path you choose is being carved right now, in this moment, with this decision. Your anger will keep coming. That's guaranteed. But what you do with it, that's entirely up to you. Start with one thing. The next time anger hits, pause for 90 seconds. Observe it. Ask what it's trying to tell you. That's it. That simple practice, repeated, will change everything. Because anger isn't your enemy. It never was. It's information. It's energy. It's power. The question is, will you use it or let it use you? The answer starts now.